If you are watching this and you have a pulse, you have a heartbeat, you're human, then chances are you have dealt with stress because it's a totally common, normal occurrence. It's actually something that really can benefit us. But when stress doesn't benefit us, we need tools to be able to know how to handle it, to be able to manage it so that we can use it for good and not for bad. Hey everyone, welcome back to Design, Create, Inspire. Today, we are going to be talking about stress, and I'm going to give you some really helpful tips on how to manage it. Whether you're prepping for your architecture exams, maybe you're an architecture student, or maybe you are just living in the times that we are living in right now. Hi, today's election day, and if you're in the US, you know tensions have been high. But even everyday life, it's really easy to feel stressed. So here are my top stress-reducing tips and what you can do today to relax a little bit, take a breath, and enjoy this crazy, beautiful life. So first off, before I give you the tips, what exactly is stress? I'm sure many of you already know this, but stress is actually a way for our body or for us to survive, right? So evolutionary, we need to be able to run fast and get away from threats, from the lion chasing us when we were, walking around our backyard. So what this means is that our nervous system kicks in and different hormones and chemicals are released naturally in our body. And this sends signals, which you may recognize. When you're feeling really stressed, you might notice your heart rate is increasing. Maybe you're even feeling like shaking, like you're like, oh, I guess I'm feeling kind of stressed out. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait, my legs are literally shaking right now or trembling. Or maybe you're even feeling like super focused in on something, like maybe it's a stressful thing, like a threat, and you're like hyper focused on that one thing and like everything else around you is blurred. Or maybe it's even the opposite, where you're having like rapid thoughts and can't really like stay focused on anything. I know it's ironic. You could have like both, but there's many different reasons why our body goes into this action. So stress in itself isn't actually that bad. It's the chronic stress and the continual stress that ends up being bad, especially if we're not releasing it somehow, because cortisol gets released into our body. And if we are not releasing that, that can turn into a whole host of issues and problems. So what we want to do is, first of all, we want to understand how to harness stress, like what it actually is, so maybe we can be less threatened or intimidated by it. And then also just how to release it, how to get that cortisol. It's going to naturally come up. We're going to naturally feel these ways, but instead of letting it spiral into something more than it needs to be, how can we harness it and then release it so it doesn't turn into something more? Okay, so to introduce this first technique, I want to tell you about a little story that happened to me recently. I was on a really great trip. It was a beautiful trip, actually, like super wonderful, and not one that you would even associate with like being stressful. But I was traveling with my two young kids, and that can be just stressful on its own. And we went out to the park, and they were playing around. And after kind of a little bit of a stressful day, also my daughter like woke up throwing up that morning, and we were traveling, so like that wasn't ideal. I found myself, we got to this outdoor park after a little walk, and I decided just to lay out on the grass, like full starfish out on the grass. And I was just looking up at the sky, and I was just like breathing. And it wasn't a like intentional move, like, oh, I'm feeling stressed out, I need to do this. It just like my body just took me there. After I laid there for a while in the grass, breathing, I realized how crazy of a difference, a shift I felt in my body. It was an instant, like I had just gotten an hour, 90-minute massage. It was throughout my whole self that felt calm and good. So this is the power of grounding. I know people can kind of like make fun of grounding, like, oh yeah, just like go stick your feet in the ground. But honestly, it is the most powerful thing. I even think of people who live up in high rises, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how do they ground themselves? Like, how do they get down and feel that? Because I notice myself when I'm feeling stressed out, I'll like physically get lower and lower to the ground. And like that situation, I literally was laying there. And often it doesn't take long to kind of recalibrate, but it's something so simple. So if you do live in, say, like a high rise, or you don't have easy access to nature or like outdoor space or anything, you could just even have a plant or something and just actually lay down on the ground. Even if you're like technically in the high rise, you'll physically feel grounded. So connecting with that floor, with that earth, or really whatever surface you're on, allows your body to relax and reset your mind. If you ever feel overwhelmed, just try it out. It's also this feeling, this connection of your body to something else. It's almost like a hug, right? It's like you're being supported. So when I am feeling this way, when I want to go get grounded or I want to do that, I'll either go outside and I'll just take my shoes off and I'll walk in the dirt or in the grass. Or like I said, like I will just lay down. Sometimes I'll even do it here in the office. I just lay down, I close my eyes, and I just take deep breaths and just try not to think of anything. If things come in, just if I'm like laying down and I'm trying not to think of things, inevitably they always do. So what I do is I will like imagine it's coming in and I say, okay, got it, noted, you can go away now. And I like imagine it on a cloud floating away. Sounds insane, but this is actually like my 3 a.m. tip too. If you have thoughts that come up, I always be like, okay, got it. And then you can go away now, and literally watch it blow it away. Does this sound crazy? Am I the only one that does this? But yes, so grounding can be incredible. Now, like I said, this is something that I just started doing like on this trip, for example. It wasn't like I was physically saying like, oh, I need to go get grounded. So that was something that I noticed, is that a lot of times there's these instinctual stress relieving tips that we will do because evolutionary, we know that these are ways that we can reduce stress. And I noticed this especially in my daughter. And I noticed this with kids. Like if you ever notice, or if you're around kids and there's some sort of stressful situation, or maybe there's a stressful time at home, or even if you're watching a scary movie, watch your kids or watch kids, because it's really interesting that sometimes they will do like random things and their coping mechanisms for that stress. We can actually learn a lot from kids because depending on their age, they haven't been influenced by what's weird, or they don't get embarrassed as easily. And so they'll start doing things that maybe adults wouldn't naturally do. My daughter does two things. She will randomly move her body in like the craziest, goofiest ways. And now it's kind of become a joke in the family where if like we're feeling stressed out or something, I'll go up to her and I'll do her little dance moves that are like so funky and out there. And so she'll start laughing, and actually usually she'll be like, Mom, stop. And then I do it long enough where she starts laughing, and then she does it. And it's this, you can tell like the first few times she did it, it was such an instinctual, organic, natural body movement that you wouldn't normally normally do probably. You look kind of weird. It's funny, but it's actually tapping into stored parts of your body that because they're not normally activated, it's releasing something. So that actually that's not even the next point I was going to go into. So I'll go into a little bit more of that. But I noticed this with her, is that if there's a stressful situation, or for example, we were watching a scary movie and all of a sudden I noticed that she was doing this like throat thing. It was kind of like a hum, but like, I don't know if you could hear that, but it's like she'd almost like move her air through her neck and do this like hum slash just noise. And I remember sitting there like, what is she doing? And I'd even ask her like, hey, what are you doing? She's like, nothing. I'm like, you're doing something with your throat. Like, why are you doing that? She goes, I don't know. And so I kind of just, that's interesting. And then she does it randomly. It's not all the time or anything. And it's only during like certain times. Actually, even this morning, she was doing it at breakfast. And now that I know, I'm able to tap into how to ask her questions. What I realized with this is that she's actually instinctually using this as a calming mechanism, because what she's doing when she's doing that is she's actually activating her vagus nerve to calm her down. Not like consciously, right? It's not like she's like, oh, I'm feeling stressed out or I'm feeling scared. I need to activate my vagus nerve in order to calm myself down. She probably has never even heard of that word. And so I realized that this was just a super natural thing that she had started doing on her own. So the vagus nerve actually runs all the way from your brain, down your neck, through your chest, and into your gut. It's totally connected. And so what can happen is like when we're feeling stressed out, like for me, for example, when I get stressed out or scared or nervous or whatever, I feel it often in my gut. But there's techniques that we can do that can stimulate this nerve that can actually calm down the entire body, like the whole interconnected system. The vagus nerve, when you activate it, activates the rest and digest nerve, which calms you down. So if you think about rest and digest, say you're a caveman and you're out in the wild and you're feeling stressed. What's your body going to do if you're needing to be aware or whatever? It's going to shut off rest and digestion. It's like anything. Like even if you go travel, you might notice that like you don't sleep well, or maybe you don't go to the bathroom for like a day or two, or even like while you're traveling, So there are instinctual things that happen that actually shut off those parts of the body. So we want to signal ourselves that, hey, we're calm. Everything's good. I'm not dying from a lion right now. Like I'm all good. And so there's different techniques that you can do to activate that vagus nerve within your body. One of those is humming. So when you or like that, you'll feel it in here, and just try that. Like next time you're feeling really stressed out, like start humming a song. It's something that's really cool too, because you can do it and not like look like you're a total weirdo. So you can hum a song. There's different breathing exercises that you can do, like a box breath. Not only is breathing super helpful for the stress relief, but it also activates that vagus nerve. There are also different massage techniques. And so that's also something like, say you're even in a stressful conversation. If you do like a gentle neck massage, and that's another thing you might even notice, like, oh, I'm feeling stressed out. Like, and you might just notice that you're going like this a little bit. That's actually activating that nerve. Now, the other thing, and this is something I've kind of started doing, you have to be careful because it looks like you're plugging your ear, but you actually take your finger and you put it on like the base of your ear and you just kind of pull down. You're not plugging your ear, you can hear perfectly, but pulling on this it connects. And I'm no health expert and I'm not like a whatever even you would call it. These are just tools that I have learned. And so going like this. So like, for example, if you are taking your architecture exam, there's obviously really like strict restrictions on what we can do when you're in the exam center. You're not going to get up and start doing some jumping jacks. You're not going to go lay on the ground and start grounding yourself. You're not going to go for a run. You can't do those things. And so you can do certain things while you're sitting there. Like you can start to hum a little bit. Obviously, be cognizant of the person testing next to you. Don't just start like humming a song, but you can you can clear your breath like that. You can very lightly. You can do a little like light massage. Even simply, you can hold your ear like this. And it's just little things like that. I also believe like it triggers the vagus nerve. It does the other things. But there's also something about kind of throwing your body out of a normal routine where when you're stressed, when you do something where like you come back into your body, like touching, you can feel your body again. You realize, okay, wait, I'm here. This is it, life right now. This is reality, not the stories I'm saying, not the lion chasing me. Like I am here right now and I am okay. So these are really subtle techniques that can help you in a stressful situation, which are really great for you're in an exam and you can't get out, or you're in a tough conversation that you can't like run away from, or anything like that. Little techniques. Now, of course, another great way to reduce stress is to step outside. This goes into two. One, being in nature, and two, getting some exercise, moving your body, allowing that cortisol that is rushing through your body to escape. Now, I go both ways with this. I know gentle walks are really recommended. They're calming. Yoga is good. Typically, like a really high intensity workout is not recommended because those can actually add more cortisol, can increase stress. But I'm also a big believer in like weird movement and like kind of fast movement, because to me, like if I'm feeling nervous to go up on stage, for example, I'll do some jumping jacks, or I will do like chest pounding or like weird movement, because I feel like when I'm stressed out or I'm nervous or scared, that energy is, I can feel it literally, and a lot of times like in joints. So when I move weird, I feel like I'm able to get it out. And that goes back into the original story of my daughter, that when she's stressed or angry or, things are whatever, we can do those weird movements that feel so like instinctual. And you guys probably are like, what the hell is she talking about? Or if you're on the podcast and you can't see them, I'm just doing some like wiggles, So I personally believe weirding it out is such a great way to get that cortisol, that energy unstuck and then out. So yeah, gentle walks, going and walking through, the grass, all of that is really nice. And yoga, that is great. But if you're feeling like it's not releasing it enough, or maybe that stress is coming in like a more intense, like upset way, wiggle it out, dance it out, do something weird. It doesn't mean like go super intense, but I feel like the weirdness and the dancing part of things disrupts the pattern that creates laughter, at least for me. Like if I start doing something like really weird, it makes me laugh. Have you seen Garden State? Do you remember that movie? Such a good movie, like one of my favorite movies. And if you haven't seen it, please go watch it. It's, early 2000s, maybe 2004 or something. And there's a part in the movie where Natalie Portman does this like weird like dancing thing. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to put this up. But she does it, and it is so funny and goofy and weird, and I love it. And she says, do you ever like sometimes stand there and just like want to do something really weird that nobody else has ever done before? It's like that. So if you're ever, look up that scene, do something weird, move your body, get out in nature. And there's something about that. I mean, there's lots about that will totally change your state of mind. Okay, and here's a big one, especially with the state of the world these days, especially what's going on like actually today in the US, and not even just the US, all parts of the world. There's a lot of things going on. So this is one that is really important, is being very cognizant of your news intake and your doom scrolling. I'm not telling you to not be aware of what's going on in the world, but I personally stopped reading and watching the news probably 5 years ago or something like that. And it's one of the best things I've ever done. It doesn't mean I'm not informed. It doesn't mean that like I don't keep myself aware of important topics, but everything is so polarizing. And the way that media and social media gets views is by being really intense. And so you have to be really mindful of what you are consuming and what you're allowing in. And if you've heard this word doomsday scrolling, it's kind of like a buzzword. It's basically where you're stuck scrolling the negative news or the negative feeds, and you just get worked up. Of course it works you up. I notice that if I'm going through my feed and it is, or maybe I get stuck on one thing and then I start going through all the comments and stuff, I first of all, lose sense of time, but then I physically feel sick. Like it does not make me feel good. So really be intentional about who you're following, what the accounts are like, especially, of course, during this time of the election. Today is the election in the US. And so, hopefully things will calm down, but I don't think they will. I think it's going to be intense for a while. So really be conscious of that. During 2020 especially, I did a full overhaul on my social media. And it's funny because my Instagram, when I go through it, is so different than some other people's that I see, because I follow accounts that inspire me, that are funny, are my like business friends who are just killing it with their businesses and I can celebrate. They are full of funny architecture memes. A lot of it is people who inspire me and people that like are on the same personal growth trajectory that I am, and people that I would want to be in a room with or anything like that. And so when I go through my feed, which I don't spend a lot of time scrolling, I spend time on Instagram for business and for connecting with people, but I don't really sit and scroll too often. But if I do, it is very positive and uplifting. And the best thing about that is you have control over that. Even if sometimes I'll interrupt my Instagram algorithm by going to the search page and searching just something like random and positive, because you'll notice that that's what it will give you. The algorithms are going to give you what it thinks you want to see. And what it thinks you want to see is things that you search, things that you spend more time on. So spend time on people and posts and accounts of things that make you feel good. It's so, so critical these days. And you will start to realize that that completely changes your perception of reality. Because if all you're seeing is negativity and sadness and brokenness and doom, then that's all you're going to perceive reality. If you see people doing incredible things, you see people traveling, you see people who are really healthy, you see people eating well, succeeding in their careers, then that's the reality that you're going to believe. So social media can be curated for you. It's not like you're sitting down watching a news channel and taking in exactly what they want you to hear. You can be in charge of it. So be in charge of it. Okay, I'm going to take a quick break from the tips because I have this really incredible resource specifically designed for ARE candidates who are taking their exams. It could be useful for anyone, but it's really designed specifically for you. And this is our wellness planner. So even if you're not taking your exams, you can download it because it's a wellness planner that can help you set your daily, weekly, monthly tasks up in a holistic way. But the way that it's curated for our architecture exams is it shows you how to create this balance when you are studying. It's really easy to get hyper-focused on studying and forget all the other healthy things you need to do in your life, like taking care of your body, taking care of your social life, being around other people, having balance, all that stuff. So I created this because I believe that becoming a licensed architect shouldn't come at the cost of also living a healthy, well-balanced, productive life. You should be able to go through the journey and enjoy the process and not be totally burned out. So if you want a copy of this, there will be a link down below in the description and you can pick up yours right away. It's completely free and you can get started on creating this balanced approach to your exam journey. Okay, so we covered a lot today, from grounding, from getting weird, to activating that vagus nerve. And I want to hear from you. What are some go-to stress relieving tips that you have? And also, as you are listening to this, did anything come up that you didn't realize was actually maybe a stress relieving tip? Like maybe you naturally find yourself getting out of the house and going on a walk around the block when you're feeling stressed out and you didn't really associate it. You just feel like, oh, I need to get out. Or was there anything else that came up? I love hearing stress relieving tips because Obviously, we can always use more tips. Everything I mentioned today are things I've been learning over the years, even like those techniques that my daughter has inexplicably taught me. So, what can we help each other with? How can we live a minimized stress, not a stress-free because you're going to have stress, but a minimized stress life so that we can enjoy the process. If you are on YouTube, comment below. If you are on the podcast, head over to Instagram and shoot me a DM or comment on one of our recent posts. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for hanging out, and subscribe, turn on the little bell so that you can get notifications whenever our new videos come out. And also head over to the podcast. It's Design, Create, Inspire, wherever you get podcasts, and give us a 5-star review. It'd be great to get this information out to more people and get the podcast a little bit more known. Before you leave, we have some awesome other tips on productivity, on stress, on all that sort of stuff, time management. So go check out some of our other episodes next.